And in fact, you want to keep marketing about the problem more than the solution. So we would try really hard to market the problem 90% of the time. Anytime we were opening our mouth, it was about the problem. We were evangelizing the problem, evangelizing the problem, evangelizing the problem. And what ended up happening is that there ended up being an ecosystem of people talking about the problem. And since you're the one speaking about it most and leading the conversation, they start to say like, well, you're the authority figure on the problem, like what's the solution? And then that gives you the opportunity to describe your solution, right? It's not the solution, it's your solution. And I think ultimately that allowed us, we had a really good marketer, it's my best friend, he was a former journalist, and he just, every day he would basically say, hey, the people that we're interested in, which we did a lot of work to figure out, are today talking about this. What is our perspective on that? And how does it tie into what we're doing? And he, being a journalist, would write a blog about the problem that people were talking about. And then he would insert our blog into the conversation. And you would know pretty quick from the comments that the market agreed with you and your perspective or not. And we basically ignored it. And so, you know, I think only when we started to really listen to it was when we started to take off. You know, we had all the mechanisms right about talking about the problem, not the solution, but we didn't follow through with it and adjust the solution based off of what the input was. I think right now I would do exactly the same. Like I would probably have me and a co-founder, if I were to like create a new company out of thin air right now in front of you, I would have me and a co-founder. I would ensure that we have very diverse experiences. We agreed on a lot of core beliefs. We have very different experiences coming to the problem. And we would start marketing the shit out of the problem for like 6 months. And it gives you the opportunity to have the conversations with people who are having that problem, and then allows you to say like, well, couldn't you just do X? Like, well, does X exist? Well, let's just assume X existed. Would that fix your problem? And then you get that feedback and really say like, oh no, I was about to spend 2 years of development on something that like 6 out of 10 people said would never work. So again, I would market the problem day one, even without a solution, even without a product, because ultimately, you know, you're building a community around this problem and hopefully serving that market with your solution. But you don't have to have the solution to talk about the problem.
Wow, yeah, that's really good.
So we had one, and then you're gonna have to wait until after, because Michael's like.
So you said you were turned down 150 times, and I was just curious. Do you think that if you had talked to a person that was 151, who was number 2, do you think that that would have been the same result if it was the exact same person, or do you think that it took your self-development of going 150 to then say, I'm a different person than I was than the second person that I pitched to?
Bingo. Yeah, bingo. I think a lot of repeat, like right now, I would be considered a repeat founder. Of all of my buddies that are repeat founders, I don't think any one of them have actually been successful the second time. I think one of the big reasons is that they didn't get the feedback loop that they got the first time. They didn't get the opportunity to be told no and why, to refine their idea. And the initial pitch deck that I went out with and then the pitch deck that I ended up getting funding were 2 very different pitch decks. The concept was the same, but how I communicated it was totally different.
The story was different.
The story was way different, and I would have never gotten that clear on my business model and that clear on my story had I not been told no so many times. Now I don't know whether it's 150 or it's 130 or it's 170, but it certainly wasn't 10. I get told no a lot, and so I think one of the things that repeat founders miss out on is that opportunity, because the VC community thinks like, you did it once, just do it again. And again, there are no rules. It's been 10 years since I did the first one. I'm a different person. The market's different. What worked back then doesn't necessarily work now. And so I would actually probably go out and pitch a deck under a pseudonym or something just to get the feedback if I were to do it again.
Create an alternate identity.
Yeah, or just what I was referring to earlier about like really start talking about the problem, building a community around the problem and getting feedback that way.
Interesting.
helped me hone in on my pitch even before I raised some money. It's really, really helpful to get that feedback.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
that was
appreciate it.
amazing.
Yeah.